She turned back, looked me in the eyes, and said, "You'll never know the truth." And in that moment, I knew my reality had just changed forever. I never thought I'd end up here, writing about the mess my life has become. Maybe it's just me trying to understand why things turned out the way they did. Or maybe it's her, maybe she's out there somewhere, still searching for me, trying to fix what she broke. I'm 30 years old. It feels strange to say it out loud, like my youth ended the day I discovered my wife's affair. We were married for 3 years, a lifetime for some. At least, that's what I thought. I had a decent job, a job that kept me traveling more often than I liked. Contract work, you know the deal. A few weeks here, a few days there. But it also allowed me to work from home when I wasn't away. Perfect, right? The kind of setup that allows a couple to make it through the rough patches. But it wasn't perfect. Not even close. Katie, my wife, she was 32. Smart, successful, so much potential. But I never saw the signs. I was too wrapped up in my work to see how much she was changing. At first, it was small things, late nights, long work meetings, endless business trips. I was never around enough to feel the impact, but deep down, I should have known. I should have paid more attention. It started when she began coming home late, then leaving right after dinner for work events. That's when the cracks appeared. At first, I dismissed it. Maybe she was stressed from her job. She was climbing the corporate ladder. I could see that. She told me, I have to make sacrifices. I told myself she was just tired, stressed from work. But looking back, I realize I was in denial. I had no idea what was brewing beneath the surface. Katie was slipping away, and I couldn't see it. Not until one evening, when everything changed. I came home one night and decided to surprise her. I cooked her favorite meal, set the table with candles, bought roses. I wanted to remind her of the things we used to do. But when she came home, she barely looked at me. "I can't stay," she said. "I've got a meeting with some colleagues at the bar." I told her it was fine, that we could eat another time. But when she went to shower, something inside me twisted. I felt like I was losing her, like I wasn't enough anymore. So, I did something I never thought I would do. I took my work phone and hid it in the back seat of her car. I knew I was spiraling. I knew this wasn't healthy. But I had to know. I couldn't stand the uncertainty. The next few days were a blur. I watched her every move. Each time she left the house, I tracked her, my anxiety growing with every passing minute. One night, I followed her to a bar. She wasn't alone. I watched her leave the bar with a man I recognized, one of her colleagues. They hugged. They kissed. I wanted to scream, but I was frozen. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. They drove off, and I followed them. They stopped at a hotel. I watched as they held hands, walked in together. I had no proof yet, but I knew. I knew what was happening. I was numb. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to confront her, to drag the truth out of her. But another part of me, this dark, broken part, wanted revenge. I couldn't trust myself anymore. But the next morning, she came home as if nothing had happened. And I just pretended everything was normal. Until I couldn't anymore. I couldn't keep pretending. I had to confront her, to make sense of the whirlwind of anger and confusion inside me. The next day, when she came home from work, I asked her outright, "Are you cheating on me?" Her face froze, like a deer caught in headlights. I could see the panic in her eyes. She immediately went on the defensive. "What are you talking about? Where is this coming from?" But I wasn't going to let it go. The evidence, the overwhelming gut feeling, was too much. I pressed harder. "I saw you last night. With him. You kissed him. You went to a hotel." Her face went pale. She opened her mouth to speak but nothing came out. The silence hung between us like a thick fog. Then, as if the weight of her guilt finally broke through, she whispered, "I didn't mean for this to happen. It was just a mistake." A mistake. That word echoed in my mind, taunting me, ripping at my heart. How could something like that be a mistake? I stood there, staring at her, my mind racing. Everything I had built with her, everything I thought we were, was collapsing. The house we bought together, our future, our marriage, all of it felt like a lie. I wanted to scream, but instead, I just whispered, "A mistake?" She nodded, but her eyes avoided mine. I could see her tears, but they meant nothing to me now. They were just another part of the facade she had created. She was trying to play the victim, but I saw through it. I had to leave. I didn't want to be in this house, in this marriage, any longer. But I didn't know where to go. That's when I remembered the trailer. I hadn't told anyone about it, not even her. It had been my secret escape for months. Ray, the guy I met at the bar, had offered it to me. A place to stay, a place to clear my mind. I didn't even think twice. I grabbed my things, just a few essentials, a couple of bags, a laptop, and left. I didn't tell Katie. I didn't even look back as I drove away. It felt like the first real decision I had made in a long time. The freedom was intoxicating. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. I didn't care about the house. I didn't care about the money. I didn't care about her. The trailer was small, nestled on the edge of a property surrounded by trees. It wasn't much, but it felt like home in a way I hadn't felt in years. I spent the next few days there, going through the motions, trying to calm the storm inside me. But even in the quiet, I couldn't escape the thoughts that kept creeping in. What had gone wrong? How could I not see it? Katie was still trying to reach me. The calls, the texts, the voicemails. I didn't listen. I couldn't. I knew what I had to do, but a part of me, the part that still cared about her, wanted to hear her out. But I knew the truth now. I had to cut her off completely. A few days later, she showed up at the trailer. I wasn't expecting her. I didn't want her there. But there she was, standing at the foot of the steps, looking lost and desperate. "Please, Noah," she pleaded, "can we just talk? I'm sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen." I wanted to walk away. I wanted to slam the door and never look back. But something in me still wanted to hear her out. I didn't know if it was love or just a desperate need for closure. So I opened the door. "You have 5 minutes," I said, my voice cold and flat. Katie stepped inside, and the moment the door shut behind her, the weight of everything hit me again. The anger, the betrayal, the hurt, it all came rushing back. But this time, I wasn't going to back down. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me again. She started with apologies, the same ones she'd sent me in texts and voicemails. But I wasn't buying it anymore. She talked about her work, her stress, how she didn't know what had happened, how it all just spiraled out of control. But I saw through it. I could see the lies in her eyes. I knew she wasn't sorry. She was sorry she got caught. When she finished, there was nothing left to say. I felt nothing. No relief. No anger. Just emptiness. I couldn't even look at her anymore. So I told her, flatly, "It's over. I don't want to see you again." Her eyes filled with tears, but I didn't care. She was crying for herself, not for me. She was crying because she realized she had lost everything. But I knew, deep down, I had already lost her. The woman I once loved was gone, and the woman standing in front of me was nothing but a shadow of the person I thought I knew. She left without another word, and I watched her drive away. A part of me wanted to stop her, to run after her and beg her to explain herself, but I didn't. I couldn't. I had to stay strong. I had to let go. And in that moment, I finally understood the weight of my decision. This was my life now. And I was going to move on. But it wasn't over yet. Not by a long shot. Katie wasn't going to let go so easily. She was going to keep coming. And when she did, I was going to be ready. I hadn't even fully processed the weight of my decision when Katie came back into the picture. It was a week later, and I thought I had closed that chapter of my life. The trailer was my sanctuary, my new beginning. The mountains, the silence, the space to breathe. I thought I was healing, but I was wrong. She wasn't done with me. It started with a knock on the door. That familiar, unmistakable sound. I knew it was her even before I opened it. I stood there for a moment, looking at the door, my heart pounding. I wasn't ready for this. I wasn't ready to face her again. But I couldn't ignore her. I opened the door slowly, and there she was, standing on the other side. She looked different, smaller somehow. Her hair, once perfectly styled, was messy, and there were dark circles under her eyes. Her clothes were wrinkled, like she hadn't cared to dress properly. It was like the woman I knew had faded away, replaced by someone broken. "Please, Noah," she said, her voice trembling. "I need to talk to you." I couldn't bring myself to slam the door in her face, though I wanted to. Instead, I just stepped back, silently inviting her in. She didn't waste any time. She walked straight past me, heading toward the couch without saying a word. I followed, watching as she sat down, wringing her hands nervously. I stood there, not knowing what to say. My anger was still fresh, but so was the confusion. What was she hoping for? What did she expect from me? She spoke first. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, Noah. But I can't live with myself knowing that I ruined everything." Her voice cracked, and I felt a twinge of something, pity, maybe, but it quickly faded. I had no sympathy left for her. "I don't care about your guilt," I said, the words slipping out before I could stop them. "I care about the lies. The betrayal. The way you didn't even think twice before throwing away everything we had. Katie looked down, her face turning red. She didn't argue. She just sat there, her shoulders slumped, defeated. The woman I once loved was nothing more than a shell now, and I couldn't decide whether I felt sorry for her or angry at myself for not seeing it sooner. She stayed for hours, talking. She explained everything, the affair, the lies, how it all started so innocently, and how she had convinced herself it was just a mistake. I listened, but I didn't hear her. Every word felt like a hollow excuse, a way to make herself feel better. And the more she spoke, the more I realized something that shook me to my core. She wasn't sorry for what she had done. She was sorry for getting caught. She was sorry that I had found out. That was the final nail in the coffin. I didn't need her to explain. I didn't need her to apologize. I had already made my decision. By the time she left, the sun had set, casting an eerie glow across the mountains. It was like the world was watching me, waiting for me to make the final break. And I did. I told her, one last time, I don't want you in my life anymore. It's over. She didn't say anything after that. She didn't beg. She didn't plead. She just left. And this time, I didn't watch her go. I didn't feel the urge to chase her down or try to make sense of what had happened. I just let her go. As the door closed behind me, I finally felt a weight lift off my chest. It wasn't complete freedom yet, but it was a step. A step towards something better. I wasn't going to let her define me, not anymore. I wasn't going to live in the past. The trailer was my escape, my fresh start. And now, it was time to take that step into the unknown. I thought I could start fresh in the trailer, but even in the quiet of the mountains, her shadow was never far behind. I tried to focus on my new life. The air was clean, the silence was comforting, and I even began running again, something I hadn't done in years. It was supposed to be a new beginning, a chance to rebuild. But no matter how hard I tried to lose myself in the solitude, my past kept creeping back. It wasn't just the memories of Katie, it was the feeling of betrayal, the anger that still bubbled up whenever I thought about her. I was still haunted by the image of her with him, the way she had kissed him without hesitation, without guilt. I thought that moving away would help me escape, but in truth, I was running from myself. I was running from the person I had become, from the man who was too trusting, too naive to see the signs. I knew the healing would take time, but it felt like every step I took forward, there was something pulling me back. And then, just when I thought I could start over, the phone call came. It was an unknown number. My heart skipped a beat when I saw it on the screen. I almost didn't pick up. Maybe I had gotten used to the silence, or maybe I was just afraid to hear from her again. But I pressed the green button anyway. The voice on the other end wasn't Katie's. Noah? The voice was calm but urgent. This is Detective Summers. I'm calling about your wife. I felt my stomach drop. What about her? I asked, already dreading what was coming. It's about the affair, Summers said. There are things you need to know. It's bigger than you think. I was silent. My chest tightened. What do you mean? Summers took a deep breath. We've been investigating her for the last few months. There's a lot more going on than you realize. And you're involved, too. I didn't know what to say. I had no idea what he was talking about. I didn't even know if I could trust him. I hadn't spoken to Katie in over a week. I had no idea what kind of mess I was walking into now. What are you saying? I finally managed. What else could there possibly be? The detective's voice became more serious. Your wife's involvement goes deeper than just infidelity. She's been using her position at work to cover up a series of criminal activities. Fraud. Embezzlement. There's a whole network of people involved, and it's all tied to her. And you've unknowingly been dragged into it. My head was spinning. I felt the world around me shift. Fraud. Embezzlement? How was I involved in any of this? I didn't even know where to begin processing what I was hearing. We need you to come in, Noah, Summers continued. You've been named in several reports. You need to cooperate if you want to protect yourself. We can help you, but you have to talk to us. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I felt the room closing in on me. Katie, the woman I married, the one I thought I knew, was a criminal? Was I really part of this mess? I never thought I'd be involved in something like this. I was just a guy trying to put my life back together, trying to escape the chaos she left behind. But now I was in deeper than I ever imagined. Detective Summers gave me the details of where to meet. I didn't know what to do. The one thing I was sure of was that I couldn't go back to my old life, back to the apartment where everything fell apart. I needed answers, and I wasn't going to get them by sitting around. So, I got in my truck and headed toward the meeting. The drive was long. My mind was racing. Every turn, every mile, felt like I was running out of time. The detective had said things I couldn't understand, things I didn't want to understand. But I had no choice now. My past had found me again, and there was no escaping it. When I finally arrived at the meeting spot, I was a mess. My hands were shaking, my stomach was tied in knots. I parked my truck and sat there for a moment, trying to calm myself. I took a deep breath, hoping I was ready for whatever was coming next. But deep down, I knew I wasn't. I walked into the building, trying to focus on the task at hand. Summers was waiting for me inside, sitting at a table with a file in front of him. He didn't stand up when I walked in, just looked at me with a steady, unreadable gaze. "Noah," he said, "this is just the beginning." I stood frozen, staring at Detective Summers across the table. His words hit me like a sledgehammer. This was bigger than I had ever imagined, and now I was part of it. My world was unraveling faster than I could keep up. Everything I thought I knew about my wife, about my life, was a lie. And the worst part? I was dragged into this mess without even knowing it. "What do you want from me?" I asked, my voice barely audible. My head was spinning. I wasn't sure if I was angry, scared, or just completely numb. Summers pushed the file closer to me, his eyes unwavering. "We need you to cooperate. There's too much at stake, and you're already involved." I felt my pulse quicken. Involved? How? I didn't know any of this. He nodded, his expression grim. "That's exactly why we need you, Noah. We need to figure out how deep this goes. You're connected to her financial transactions, and there are a few things we need to ask you about your involvement." I could barely comprehend what he was saying. My name was on reports, on files. My wife, my ex-wife, had been hiding things from me, manipulating me, and now I was part of something far darker than a simple affair. I felt like I was trapped in a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. "I had no idea," I muttered, almost to myself. She was always so secretive. She lied about everything." Summers leaned in slightly, his tone becoming sharper. "We know. And that's why you need to help us. She used her position at work to cover up a massive scheme. Fraud, embezzlement, and money laundering, all involving people from her company. The affair was just the tip of the iceberg." My mind raced. How was I connected to any of this? What could she have possibly done to drag me into it? I was still processing the weight of it all. "What are you asking me to do?" I asked, my voice more composed now. "You want me to be a witness? Or am I a suspect?" Summers paused before answering, his eyes narrowing. "We don't know yet. That's why we need your help. We need you to cooperate and tell us everything you know about her. The more you tell us, the clearer this will become." I sat back in my chair, trying to make sense of everything. Katie, the woman I married, had been living a double life, and I was only now beginning to understand just how deep the lies went. But I couldn't sit here forever. I needed answers. I needed to know what the hell was going on. "Fine," I said, finally. "I'll cooperate. But I need to know what you're going to do with the information I give you." Summers leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "If you help us, Noah, we can help you too. We're trying to stop a much bigger problem. Your wife is just one piece of the puzzle, but the longer she's out there, the more damage she can do." I nodded, though I wasn't sure what I was agreeing to. It all felt surreal, like I was caught in a movie I couldn't escape. But I didn't have much of a choice. If I didn't help them, I could end up right back in the middle of her mess, with no way out. I spent the next few hours talking to Summers. I told him everything I could remember about Katie, the late nights, the business trips, the secretive behavior. I told him about the last few months, the tension, the distance. I told him about the affair, the hotel, the man. But still, it didn't feel like enough. It wasn't the whole story. And somehow, I knew the worst was yet to come. When I finally left the building, the weight on my shoulders felt heavier than ever. The future was uncertain, and the path ahead seemed treacherous. But there was no turning back now. The damage was done. And Katie wasn't finished with me yet. As I walked back to my truck, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was lurking just out of sight, something that would change everything again. I knew I had just scratched the surface, but I also knew that this was only the beginning. Whatever was coming next, I had to face it head on. No matter the cost.